Traders, Shane from GMT Futures and FX. Welcome to our Pro Trader update. I'm going to be doing some training today as well. It's the 29th of January 2020 as we start our presentation. So we're just going to talk about our general advice disclaimer, remembering that this is general advice and that if you're intending to use any information contained within this presentation, you need to seek personal professional advice to confirm that the investment or strategies mentioned are appropriate in light of your individual particular investment needs. So that's very important that obviously you understand and are aware of that. So as we jump into the presentation, we're going to talk about our agenda for today. So today's session will include an update on the Emerging Managers platform. We'll be looking at automated trading risk management. So one of the keys to making sure that you're managing risk when you're using automated systems. We're going to talk about the new Traders Academy 100, formerly the Pro Trader program, which is launching on the 1st of Feb. We also have an update on our member site, so looking at our TradeView charts, that's launching on the 7th of Feb, so not far away. We're going to have a look at our top 5 TradeStation systems, and we're going to have a look at our top strategies for MT4 using multi-system trading. So that is a quick update on where we're at as far as our agenda for today, and let's jump into our first item on our agenda, which is the Emerging Managers platform. So for those traders who are interested in pursuing a career as a professional trader, this is something that you may be interested in. One of the criteria for, obviously the criteria for completing or applying for the Emerging Managers platform is to complete the Pro Trader program. The second thing is we need to make sure that you have completed your sim track record, so trading and simulation with positive results for at least 6 weeks. Then we're moving into the 3 months of live trading, so making sure that you're able to sustain your track record in a live environment. So we would then apply for the Emerging Managers platform with Ferguson High-End's Investment Management Group. And what we're doing there is we're actually undertaking an incubation period where we're ensuring that our 3-month live track record is matched within the incubation period. So one of the things that we need to make sure before we start that is that our strategy is scalable, because if you're managing larger volumes of money, you need to make sure that that you're trading on a larger time frame, particularly focusing on the 1 hour charts, 1 hour, 4 hour daily charts, just to make sure that you're able to trade with good volume. So trader successful applicants will receive an offer to join the incubator funnel. So what that means is that you'll be provided with an allocation of $20,000 to trade. You'll have a minimum 3-month incubation period based on performance. There's a max daily drawdown of 10%, a max monthly drawdown of 10%. So you're ideally targeting 2% a month on funds under management. And then once that period's up, then obviously you're offered a position based on your success within the incubator funnel. So that's a little bit about the Emerging Managers platform. We're going to have obviously Luke on possibly on our next presentation or in early March to talk a little bit more about the Emerging Managers platform. But yeah, very exciting. So let's move on. We're going to talk now about our 4-hour trend trader strategy on MT4 and our pivot trader breakout strategy. We'll review those two. I'm going to do a little bit more training on the 4-hour trend, but let's jump into the charts now. So traders, I'm going to jump into the pivot breakout systems and or the system and the markets that we're trading in on at the moment. So I've listed up here the top 6 markets that are performing really well at the moment. They are silver, crude, gasoline, the Euro futures, the Aussie dollar, and gold. So a nice little mix there. Obviously, the two that are reasonably correlated are gold and gold and silver. So we're going to have a bit of a walk through each of these strategies, just a couple of minutes. But obviously, the big performer or the best performing system there is silver, sitting at 23,435. The last couple of weeks have been exceptional, with about $4,100 profit in 2 weeks, so it's done really well. It has a slightly higher drawdown at 2460, so as far as overall profit to max drawdown, we probably don't want to see it too much higher than that. But if you're trading that on a larger account, a larger portfolio, that wouldn't be an issue. So let's jump into the charts and have a look at these systems individually. So the first system we're going to have a look at is silver. You can see the equity curve making new equity highs there, so nice, pushing up strongly. We've got an average trade net profit of 276 on silver. We have a 42% win rate. We've got 82 trades at the moment. This thing is running really well. The max drawdown is 2460. That would be fantastic if it was slightly lower, but you can't get everything you want in a system all of the time, so we've just got to manage what we can achieve out of this market and with this system. Our profit factor is over 2, which is great, so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a profit factor of over 2, and hopefully we can kind of maintain that for the long term. So that's silver at the moment. I'm expecting that there's still going to be a fair bit of volatility here in this market, so it's probably one that we want to keep an eye on, particularly moving forward. So our next strategy on our list was crude oil. So crude oil is tracking really well. So let's have a look at our equity graph here on crude. You can see their new equity highs as well, so doing exceptionally well there. If we have a look at our stats, we've got a profit factor of 2.77. We have an average trade net profit of 262. So that's one of our higher average trade net profits for our systems. 45% win rate. So again, with a breakout system, you're not expecting to get a massive win rate on these strategies. But what you are wanting is you're wanting a good reward to risk, and you're wanting also the average winning trade to be around 3 times the average losing trade. So if you have a look at there, our average winner is 900, average loser is 272. So if we're sitting just under 50%, we're miles in front as far as our overall performance with our ratio of average win to loss. And if we scroll down, you can see there, that's another one that sits in the 20 to 50 to 100k portfolio. So not really in the 10k. That's a 25% on a 10k account, which is as far as drawdown goes, that's probably the higher end of what we would like to see. So with a strategy like this, you're probably wanting to have this running on a larger portfolio. All right, traders, let's roll on to the Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar breakout, tracking really well, has come off a little bit, not too much, but have a look at our profit factor is 5.16. So clearly the top ranked system as far as profit factor. Not a huge amount of profit, but there's not a lot of risk in this system either. Our max drawdown is 410, so it's a great system for the 10k account. This is one that you would definitely have on your radar if you were tracking a 10k account, because the other thing too is the average trade net profit is 275. So remember, our minimum benchmark is $100 average trade net profit. This one's sitting at 275. Our ratio, so average winning trade is 537, average loser is 182. So we're almost at 3 to 1 on our risk to reward as well, our ratio of average win to loss. So that system doing really well. Just had obviously a slightly down week with the 410, but has been very, very consistent prior to that. So just overall a really good system. Okay, now we're going to have a look at the Euro futures. So the Euro futures strategy just coming off a little bit here. So obviously with every system we trade, we've got a circuit breaker. We've just got to keep an eye on that to make sure that it's not one of our systems that's kind of falling away a little bit. Because remember, when you're trading an automated strategy, you need to make sure that you're managing the system. So the managing the system component is making sure that you do your monthly optimization, that you're monitoring the days of the week and times of the day for profitability. So we use our R tracker to do that, and I'll do a little bit of a walkthrough on that a little bit later on. But just here, just having a look at this system, profit factor of 2.5, which we're happy with. The overall win rate, this is 30%, so that is the low end of what we would like to see. We don't want to see anything really too much lower than 30%, because those systems are a lot harder to trade. So we just want to kind of just keep an eye on that. Our average trade net profit is 180, so that's great, because remember, we want it over 100. So you're going to hear me say that time and time again. If you're seeing systems that have got a $50, $60, $70 average trade net profit or lower, Yeah, they're not going to make money in real time. So you want to stay away from those. The average winning trade is $1,000, and the average loser is $172. So that's why we're doing so well on this low win rate, because when we're winning, we're making $1,000. When we're losing, we're risking $172. So that's why we're doing well. The 5.8 is our average, the ratio of average win to loss, which is awesome. And our max drawdown on this system is $800. So it's actually quite a good little strategy for a smaller portfolio as well. All right, our last one, traders, is gold. So gold making new equity highs. A couple of big trades there. Let's have a look at our stats there. It's not a big system as far as profitability, but its average trade net profit is exceptionally good at 450. Average winners 1,082. Average loser 260. Our ratio of average win to loss is 4.16. And then we've got a win rate of 52%, so just pushing it up another 22% on top of that previous Euro futures system. So this is quite a good little strategy as far as our overall profitability, and remembering our max drawdown there is 780, so again another good system for a smaller account. So that wraps up our breakout strategies. You can see there that obviously the number one performer at the moment is silver. And then we kind of so silver and gasoline have been our better strategies this week, and that's just a bit of a recap on our breakout pivot breakout. So let's have a look at a couple of other strategies that are running really well on our GMT portfolio. Okay, traders, we're going to have a look at our gasoline strategy now on the Trend Trader. So this is trading on a swing system. Trend Trader swing, and performance has been really good. This is a shorts only system, so we'll have a look at the overall performance. Total profit for the 12 months has been 15k. The profit factor of 5.6 is awesome. We've got a reward to risk or average trade net profit is $517. So that's really at the highest spectrum of what we expect from our systems. 48% win rate, 29 trades. So not a lot of trades. You're not trading this. It's not super active. Average winning trade is a $1,300 profit. Average loser was $217. So the other big feature of this is the drawdown at $12.89. So it's one of our really good strategies on the trend. So there's a couple of other systems, but this one kind of is working really well. As I mentioned before, it's only trading shorts. So if we look at the daily chart, we only have this really system active during these short periods. So where those vertical bars are, that's where we're getting short on this market. And this system is very active during those periods. So you can see there again, short, and then obviously on the long side, we're going to be trading our longs only strategy on this as well. So there's just a bit of a snapshot of how that system's tracking. That's gasoline on a 4-hour chart. So again, not taking, a 30-minute chart, not taking a lot of trades, but doing exceptionally well. Okay, traders, so we're going to roll on to the 4-hour Trend Trader strategy on MT4 now. And do a little bit of training. We're going to apply the new ELD to the charts. You should have received an ELD as an email. Save that to one of your folders, and you're going to want to copy the ELD into our open data folder. So you're going to want to update that. So go to MQL4, go to experts, and then you're going to want to copy that into here. I've already done that. So that is our 4-hour Trend Trader version 3. So that's what you should have. You will have a version 2 in there. So we want to kind of get rid of that file. So we'll take that out, and it would probably be on the charts. So if it is your old 4-hour Trend Trader is on the charts, just simply remove that. So go to Expert Advisors and remove it. Then add, and I'll just do it as a walkthrough here. So if I remove that at the moment, I'll add the version 3 in. So let's do that now. There's version 3. We want to add it to the charts. Remembering that we're tracking this in demo mode. This is version 3, so there's potentially going to be two or three more versions of this strategy, because we're just constantly, or not constantly, but we're adding some new inputs to it. And one of the big ones is going to be the strength, trend strength radar, which is really going to look at currency strength, so strength versus weakness, and take trades only on confirmations of a divergence in the currencies. So as I mentioned before, you want to be tracking this in demo mode. So I'm going to talk a little bit later on in the video on managing risk on the platform, and when we're doing these multiple versions of a strategy and we're kind of getting the best of the best strategy inputs, you're always going to be wanting to track that in demo mode and be comfortable with it. Make sure it's trading as it should do, and trading across multiple pairs. Make sure your data is coming through well, and we'll talk a little bit more about the risk profile of that as we push on in the video. But let's have a look here. We're going to have a quick look at this system. So we've added the trend color to our charts, and if we have a look at our indicators there, you'll see that we've got two indicators, the VR Donchian and the trend color. Both of those have been added to the charts. The only change we make is we want to make sure the Donchian is running at 20, which we've set up, so that's okay. We go okay. No other change to the strategy. Now when you do add this to your charts, you're going to find that you probably want to add the ELD as well. So sorry, my apologies, you want to add in the set file. So to do that, you're going to want to have a look at, so you're going to go view, and you want to have your strategy tester open. So if you go view strategy tester, that opens up your strategy tester. Then you'll have the ability to select the EA. So in this instance, we want the 4-hour trend trader version 3. The currency we're going to select is the Euro USD, because that's a set file I sent out. Now the set file is basically the best settings that we have on a particular currency pair so far. So all I've done is basically just gone through and done some optimization on some very basic settings. So I'm going to show you those in a second. Let's load the set file up first. So if we go hit expert properties and we say load, we go to our desktop, which is where I've got it, GMT, and there's the 4-hour strategy, and there's my set files. Now I've set out a new Euro USD new settings, so that's our new settings, but here's our new settings version 3, so we'll get rid of that one there, and we'll get rid of any other Euro USD. We'll get rid of that as well, and we'll keep our version 3, and we'll go open, and we'll go OK. So there's version 3 of our strategy. So if we run now if we run the actual strategy report on that, we should get some trades popping up on the on our chart, which we do, or not on our chart, but on our strategy tester, which we do. And we're waiting for that report to so I'll just pause the video here and we'll just wait for that to run through. Alright traders, so we've run our strategy test, and this was on very basic settings. So if we jump in, have a look at our report, it's delivered $1,000 over 12 months. It's got a profit factor of 1.44. As I said, very basic settings that I sent out. The largest profitable trade was $90, average was 74, our largest loser was 33, and the average was 20, so that's perfect as far as reward to risk, and that's what you're wanting out of a trending system, aren't you? You're going to want a good reward to risk there. So let's have a look at the basic settings here that we've got on this strategy. So this thing is running at the Donchian period is 20, so that's our automatic default setting. We want to have that on because that matches our setting on our indicator. Number of max trades there. We always want to have that, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later on, but every EA we want to have our max trades risk set at with this one particularly 2, because we don't have any more than 2 trades in a day. It's a 4-hour strategy, so ideally that's our max trade there. 50 max loss per day is 50. Just have a look at that though, because it needs to line up with your max stop loss. So if your stop loss is $200 or $20, then, because this is a mini account, then you're going to want to add that as 400, aren't you? So we'll just put that in there. So that's 2 losing trades, and we'll set that. Now we've got this as enter by trend color change. So if there's a change in the trend color, we're basically going to get into this trade. So if we have a change in our trend color from red to green, or green back to orange or tomato, and then we're going to get into this trade. So that's probably going to take too many trades. So what we want to do is make sure we've got additional filters in there, don't we? So this is running, as I said before, on a 4-hour candle or chart, but I want to see that I'm not just getting on the trend color. I want to have possibly the lower Donchian confirming, or the upper Donchian, or both Donchians confirming, or as well as possibly a break of the midline. So that's our midline there. So let's go back into the strategy here. What we can do is we can select the trend color change. That's okay to true. We can enter by price break of the midline. So at the moment that's false. Typically what you'll find is when the trend color changes, it does normally break the trend line, but not every time. So we've got that at false. But what we do have here is we have enter by midline break, trend color change, which matches our first input there, and then we also have one Donchian confirming. So what that means is if I'm going long on this system, I'm going to want to have a trend color change, and I need to have one of my Donchian, my upper or lower, confirmed to be blue for a long setup and red for a short. So let's have a look at a long setup. A long setup here would be, that would be our long setup. We've got a trend color change, our blue Donchian, and we've crossed above the midline. So that's our long setup. On the short side, we have a trend color change, but we don't have the Donchian lining up. Okay, traders, we're going to have a look at a few more of these setups. So basically, at the moment, we have, if we go to the Expert Advisor, the strategy set up with a enter by trend color, which is true, and trend color change. And then we also have the enter by midline break, trend color change, and one Donchian confirmed. So at the moment, the strategy is set up so that if you change from a tomato or red to green, that strategy, actually all of the inputs or all of the components have to line up, so they don't there. So we've traded above the midline, but our Donchian's red and not blue, so it needs to line up. Now we are going to add an input to this strategy so that it will take the trade once all the parameters line up, but at the moment it doesn't do that. So it's very simple. Basically, once your color changes, which does here, and you've got a close below the midline, and the color has changed from green to tomato or red, then your outer Donchian lines up as well, then that's a takeable trade there. So that's a short trade. Now we go to the long setup, and you can see here that the first trade setup there is a green candle from a tomato, but we're still on a red. We've still got a red Donchian, so that actually doesn't confirm the trade. So it's only when we get a change from here, green to red back to green, that we can take this trade, because we're above the midline. We have the green candle, and we have the Donchian confirmation. Now, there is a setting within the strategy to only take the trade if you touch the upper Donchian or the outer Donchian. So the settings for that trade are enter midline break, trend color change, one Donchian confirmed. So the one Donchian is obviously a trade on the long side, confirms that we've got the trade set up and we're good to take the trade. So our settings for that that part of the strategy are entered by midline break, we need a trend color change and one Donchian to confirm. So if you're long, it's going to be the blue, obviously from red to blue. If you're short, it's going to be from blue to red. So again, if we here see that we've got a trend color change, we have a close below the midline, and our Donchian confirms, that would get us into a short trade. That's obviously a loser there. But you can see how this works. So on this scenario here, if we get a long, which we do, that long doesn't trigger because we've got a trend color change. Our Donchian confirms, but our midline is still red. But if we close above the midline and we don't have the requirement for the midline color change, then we could take that trade, couldn't we? So you can really customize the EA to suit how you want to take the trade. So it's just a matter of playing with the strategy and working out how you're going to take the trades and what you specifically want to see as your entry point. So what I suggest you do in demo mode is go through and start really testing this strategy and run some optimizations. Make sure that you try some of these different variations to the trade entry to find out what's going to work best for you, because the set file you were given is basically just a basic file, a basic settings file. So there's plenty of work to be done on getting better results on these strategies. So but we're going to do a little bit more work on that as well. So we'll keep you updated on how we go with our set files. But again, as I said before, go through and make sure you go through and test the strategy, do some optimizations, and let us know how you go. Okay, traders, so what I want to talk about now, this is the last part of our presentation for today, is just managing risk. And this does pertain to the 4-hour strategy, 4-hour trend trader strategy, but it could be any EA you're trading, or any TradeStation strategy, or any TradeView strategy, anything that you're running in automation, any algo. You really want to be making sure that you're managing risk correctly. And I guess that today's a good time to be talking about that, because as we're starting to release more and more of these systems for testing, and we've been doing this for a long time now, it's just a good reminder to traders who are possibly new to the group, that you need to be managing risk on your platform and on your strategy, because ultimately, at the end of the day, you're responsible for your own account. So you need to make sure that you've got appropriate risk management on that account. So one of the things we did a couple of years ago, Mike did a great presentation, which is in the members area. I think it was 2015-16 on risk management and trading and automation. That was more for TradeStation, but it had some really good advice in relation to managing risk and using a server platform and things you can do to improve your risk management. So you probably want to have a look at that video, but barring that, let's go through and have a look at some of the things, the basic things we can do just to make sure that we're managing risk well on our strategies. So one of the things that we want you to do is basically you need to monitor your EA when it's running. So just because you've got an EA, a strategy, or an automated strategy on TradeStation or MT4, it doesn't matter what platform, you still need to monitor it. So some physical monitoring or some type of monitoring of the system to make sure it's trading within its parameters, so that if there's any move away from what its standard trading protocol is, then you're aware of that, or you're alerted to that. So one of the things you can do is you can set up an email notification alert, an alarm, when a trade is taken, and that links to your phone, can send an alarm off your platform, and that just tells you that there's trade. So if you've got that alarm set up and you're hearing ding, 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 or you're hearing a couple of dings an hour, and you know that your system, or a couple of alarms go off every hour, you know your system only trades once a day or a couple of times a day, you'll start to register that there's an issue, and you can address that straight away. The other thing is you could have your broker set up a max risk value in your account that shuts down any trade execution if your max risk is hit. And most brokers provide this. You've just got to make sure you've got a broker that's good enough to do that. And if you haven't, you probably want to find one. This can be as low as 2%. It can be as high as whatever risk you're comfortable with. But ultimately, that's another way of managing risk on the platform. We also have added in all of our strategies and in this one as well a feature that automatically shuts down the EA if it has a number of losing trades. So if it has a certain number of losing trades per day or it hits a risk value per day, then that will be basically added to that'll basically shut the EA down and it won't be able to trade. So I've mentioned there you should set it as a default. I definitely would, and we do. So with any of the developed DAs that we have, you definitely need to make sure that you've got that max risk per day and the max dollar risk. So you ideally want to have both of those. You want to have two safeguards. You want to have the email alert, and you also want to have the broker max risk added to your platform as well. So there's three. There is also the ability to have, say, if you're running your EA on a VPN, you can basically have whoever's managing the server to set up. There are some companies that will provide a risk management service within the server itself. So there's that opportunity as well. As I mentioned before, these features of the max number of trades, trader can select the max number of allowable trades before the EA becomes inactive, so that's losing trades, and the max risk per day is added to the EA as a feature. So they're just standard things that are typically in our EAs. They'll be in all the EAs that all the strategies that we produce moving forward. So I would definitely make sure that they're set as your default. So that was just a bit of a summary of what we want to do in relation to managing risk, making sure that obviously the key ones, any strategy that you use, you want to run that in demo, between 2, 3, 5 weeks in demo to make sure it's taking the trades correctly, that there's no bugs. And then once you're happy and comfortable with that and you've got your risk management in place, then you could potentially go live with the strategy if it's performing well. So that is just a recap of the risk management that we would recommend. If you've got any questions, please let me know. Happy to answer those. You can contact Shane at gmtfutures.com. Otherwise, have a fantastic day and we'll catch you on the next live session. Cheers.